The Centurion Project. Written by the 8th Day of Night. Chapter 33. Choices. Part 2. Elias knocked on the door to the infirmary as softly as he could. Scalpel was there in an instant, shooing him in. They didn't speak as they approached the bed where Scarlet's shield was still sleeping, completely dead to the world as he snored softly. Elias gave Scalpel a quick scratch behind the ears as he sat down, staring at the sleeping Pegasus. It had taken 2 days for them to find the pony's pod, and he had already been trapped in for almost a month. As a result, the Pegasus was one of the last to leave the infirmary as Scalpel made sure that any changeling venom didn't have any permanent side effects. Elias made sure to visit as regularly as he could once the pod had been found, but he never seemed to catch Scarlet while he was awake. Scalpel claimed that since they had pulled him from a coma, he had only woken up a few minutes each day, and from the gaunt look of Scarlet's sleeping form, Elias believed him. The Pegasus was being fed by an IV, and even though he seemed to be sleeping calmly, his breath would occasionally come in short gasps before settling into a stable rhythm. Scalpel pulled up the second chair and sat beside Elias, sighing as they watched Scarlet sleep. The unicorn turned to Elias for a moment, then leaned against him. "I know you're not here for a checkup, Elias, but how are you doing? From what I heard, the last couple of days have not been easy for you." Elias snorted. "News about my little freakout spread that fast, huh? Guess I shouldn't be surprised. The gossip mill loves talking about me." Scalpel shrugged. "I don't really care what the rumors say. I want to hear your side of it. I know you had a good reason for tearing into the princesses, otherwise that permanent tattoo on your back would seem a bit pointless." Elias nodded dismissively. "There isn't much of a story to tell, Scalpel. Everyone I loved died the last time I made a legion, and the princesses one another. Badly. Luna even followed me up to the top of the mountain to make sure I didn't die, and then tried to talk me into it. If nothing else, it shows me that there's a need. But nobody seems to be thinking about what it will cost." Scalpel sighed. "Then, well, you have to do it, because you are thinking about what it will cost. If you're the only one who can think like that, then they need you. Simple as that. No matter how much it personally hurts, it's the truth." "I know," Elias replied blankly. "In my mind, it's never really been a question of if they need my help. It's a question of if I have the strength to give it. Everyone seems to think I've got it in me, and for some reason, they're already prepared to stand at my side. But I'm not so sure." He snorted dismissively. "I've already got 2 volunteers if I accept. But what about you, Scalpel? Are you going to charge into battle by my side?" Elias felt a mild sense of relief when Scalpel laughed loudly. The unicorn slapped Elias back and doubled over, wiping his eyes as long peals of laughter escaped his chest. "Oh, Buck, no," Scalpel said. "I'm a doctor, Elias. My place is here in the castle, making the pain go away, not on the battlefield hurting ponies. No, I don't think I'll be going to charge into battle with you. Probably ever." Elias couldn't help but to wrap an arm around the pony and pull him close. "Good. That's one less friend I have to watch out for then. Makes my job easier. I wish everyone was as inclined to stay behind as you are. Then I would have no doubts whatsoever." Scalpel grinned, then started as Scarlet rolled over with a scowl on his face. He rubbed his eyes with his hooves, then looked to Elias. He looked back to Scalpel, then Elias again. A small smile crept across his face. "Hey, you finally came to visit. About time." Elias's mirth slipped. About time. About time he noticed that Scarlet was missing. About time he actually checked on his friend, rather than letting this strange behavior slip up to the wayside. About time he made sure that his friend was okay. Elias flicked to the ground as he let out a deep sigh. Scarlet quickly noticed a change in his demeanor and his scowl deepened. "Oh, Buck, no. I'm not hearing this speech again." Scarlet scooted to the edge of the bed and grabbed at Elias' face with his hooves. "It's not your fault, Elias. It isn't any pony's fault but mine. I shouldn't have gotten captured. That's it. The only thing that needs to be fixed is that I need to be a better fighter, so that next time I can beat as many bugs as possible to a pulp. Now get that stupid bucking look off your face and tell me about this legion thing. I only caught the tail end of your conversation." Elias slapped his hooves away. "No, I'm not telling you a thing, and you're wrong. It's my fault completely. I noticed when the bug didn't quite act right, but I didn't push hard enough. Didn't do enough to expose the changeling that took your place. If Night Flash was just a second too slow, that damn bug would have torn his throat out without a thought. That would have been on me, not you. Elias gestured to the bed and the IVs dangling from Scarlet's body. Besides, you're injured, or at least sick. You can't leave that bed until you're better, so telling you anything more than get better is pretty worthless. Scarlet looked at him with a disbelief clearly written on his face. Really? You of all ponies is gonna tell me to stay in bed because I got hurt? Really? Fuck no. Tell me what this Legion is, because I need to get out of here now. If you don't tell me, and if you don't let me in, I'm gonna do something stupid like you and climb Canterlot Mountain. There's gonna be a princess to rescue me, however. No pony would even come looking. I would, Elias said softly. Scarlet drooped for a second, with his ears pitting themselves to the side of his head. I know you would, Elias, but that's just it. You couldn't have known. You can't detect magic, so you wouldn't even begin to know what to look for. I got snatched and replaced, and the changeling that did it died, and now I'm going to get better. Let's both just agree that it's my fault, and then you can tell me about this Legion of yours, because I want to be wherever you are. I need to get stronger, and the more I see and hear and work with you, the more I know that you are going to make me that way. I won't take no for an answer. Elias cocked his head to his side and stared at the pony. Yeah? And what are you gonna do if I tell you no? Attack me. Scarlet's eyes narrowed as his hooves drifted towards his IV lines as if to rip them out. He was stopped as Scalpel let out a string of rapid no's and levitated Elias into the air and onto a separate bed, where he quickly used that cursed rope from his previous visit to restrain the human's arms. He then got the regular straps and threatened Scarlet with them as he glared at the two of them. Really? The two most injured ponies from the invasion are going to brawl? For what? To get bucked up some more? Not on my watch. Scalpel walled on Elias. And just for the attempt, you are getting a physical evaluation, he said, jabbing his hoof at Elias. You are eating before the meeting with the princesses, and from what I can tell, you haven't eaten well since. You'll be lucky to make it out of here today with your little act. Elias rolled his eyes. I wouldn't be so sure, Doc. I'm supposed to be eating with Bookbinder and Night Flash for dinner. I would love to see you make me late. The unicorn grumbled something under his breath, but Elias noticed a small flash of fear in his eyes at the mention of the mare's name. He knew the power she could bring to bear, and so the rope disappeared from Elias's arm as Scalpel relinquished. Fine, but I'm still gonna give you a once-over, Scalpel said. I noticed some scarring on your hand that wasn't there before. Scarlet, stay in that bed, or so help me I will find a pony that can cast a paralyzation spell on you. The Pegasus rolled his eyes, but his hooves drifted away from the IV lines, settling into his pillow with a huff. He stared at Elias. Don't think this has stopped me, Elias. Now, tell me about this Legion of yours. I'll take any job you give me. I just need to be involved in some way. Maybe polish armor for all I care. Just so long as I get better. Elias side-eyed the pony as he crossed his arms. You assume that I'm going to accept the offer the princesses gave me. I still haven't decided. Still haven't determined if it's worth risking my friends. Scarlet sighed loudly and rolled his eyes. Elias, you're going to do it. I know that for a fact. It's just who you are. You see something wrong and you fix it if you know how to. This is something you can most definitely fix. Besides, most of your friends are guards, and if word got out that you were given the opportunity to help the princesses out and turned it down, how many friends do you think you would have left? Elias rolled onto his side and glared at Scarlet. Are you trying to batter me into accepting by using my friendship as a weapon? Yeah, I am, Scarlet said with a nod. I know you're going to accept eventually. Bookbinder and Night Flash both know you're going to accept eventually, and I would go so far as to say that you know you're going to accept eventually. You're just wasting time doubting yourself. That's just it though. You're wasting time. If you just threw away all the doubt and started working, you would have made a few extra days to make sure everything went perfectly. But where are you? In the infirmary getting dressed down by a pony who got thrown into a bush during the RATE. I say this is the nicest way possible, Elias. Pony the buck up. My friend wouldn't run away from a challenge like this. And the more you sit and mope around, the more I'm convinced that eye of yours isn't just for show. Elias felt anger flashed hot in his mind, and despite Scalpel's protest, he whirled his legs out of the bed and jabbed a finger at Scarlet. And what the fuck do you know, Scarlet? I accept this little general position? I won't have any friends. None. Zero. I will have to push every pony I know away so that I can do my job right. The I was earned doing what nobody else could, so don't you dare accuse me of running away. I run from nothing. Scarlet rolled his eyes again. Sure, that's why you're letting Scalpel fret over you like a mother hen instead of getting out there and kicking flank at your new job. Fine, you ungrateful parrot, Elias shouted. I'll do it. I'm gonna punish your sorry ass so relentlessly in training that you'll wish you were never born, let alone joined up with me. Scarlet smiled. Great. Where do I need to submit my application? Elias opened his mouth to reply that he would accept any applications through his assistant, but then he realized he didn't have an assistant. He changed his answer to say that the application could be dropped off in his office, but then he realized he didn't have an office either. Finally, his mind realized that he had accepted the position to the point that he was already making a mental checklist of everything he would need just to get his legion started, let alone begin recruiting. Elias sighed mentally at the acceptance, but Scarlet was right. He was wasting time. He needed to make a decision and commit, and he knew which answer he was going to take. No matter what doubts he had, the ponies would die in droves if he didn't implement basic military reforms to their quite sad military forces. Elias' eyes flicked up to Scarlet, who was watching him with a smug smile. Elias sneered at the Pegasus. Fuck you, Scarlet, and wipe that stupid look off your face or I'll reject whatever application you send me for insubordination. Now get better, or you won't be doing anything with me. Scarlet gave him a goofy smile and a salute. Unfortunately for him, the motion was too snappy and he accidentally tore free one of the IV lines. Scalpel immediately set upon the Pegasus, yelling at him as he cleaned up a drip of blood. A bevy of tools floated into the air as he prepared to put in another IV line, and while Scarlet tried to convince the doctor that it wasn't needed, Elias made his exit. Scalpel's word had helped, but he still needed to think, to make sure he was choosing the right path. He quickly made his way to the castle gardens, wandering through the bushes and trees until he found a spot where he had managed to kill the changeling captain by the skin of his teeth. Impressively, it was free of blood or goo, and instead the marble state shined a brilliant white. Elias felt his bad eye twitch as he stared at the statue where he had nearly died from blood loss. Then he began to pace. He intentionally began dragging out bad memories, trying to drive himself into a panic attack. He needed to physically speak with the other Elias, needed to make sure that his entire brain was set on his choice. If even a little bit of his mind held doubt, then he wouldn't be able to focus, and he would fail to keep anyone safe. If he held such doubt, he needed to say no. But the more he talked to ponies, the more the reasons seemed to become cemented in his mind. He needed to help them, but he had to be sure of himself first. Elias' breath came in short gasps as he riled himself up, using the images of a field of blood and bodies to bring him to the brink. He used the image of Sarah's grave to shove him over the edge. The cool calm washed over him as other Elias took a seat at the base of the statue. This isn't healthy, you know, the man said calmly. Elias shrugged and continued to pace as his mind calmed. Maybe, but it's necessary. I needed to talk to you. The fact that you think me someone separate from you is even more concerning, Elias, and I really think we should get that checked out. Elias felt his anger flash and he whirled on the Spectre. Look, I needed to talk this out. It's the only way I know how. Other Elias exhaled loudly and waved him on. Let's get this done. I think we can both agree the answer is yes. Elias nodded in agreement as he reclasped his hands behind his back. Yeah, but I need to know the limit. Do I keep my friends? I'm going to be relentless, but do I still try to maintain our relationships, or do I drive them away until after? Other Elias ran a hand through his hair. You want an honest answer? I say ban any friends from joining, period. Make it a condition of your acceptance that Bookbinder, Nightflash, and Scarlet are evicted from the guard, permanently. He looked to the sky. That or make them stay behind to guard the castle. Whatever keeps them far away from the march. Absolutely not, Centaur Elias roared as he stormed into the clearing. Elias blinked at the second Spectre, and he stopped pacing to stare at him. He checked behind to make sure other Elias was still by the statue, and he looked back to Centaur Elias. Elias snorted in disbelief. There's two of you now, he stated dumbly. Centaur Elias ignored the comment and instead jabbed a finger at other Elias. You're a fucking idiot. We drive them away like that, and not only do we lose all of our friends, but we won't have anyone we can trust. We need their sharp minds, and we need to know they will follow our orders to the letter. Besides, leaving them behind will put them in greater danger than if we train them up. What happens when foreign nations learn about the Department of the Princesses and the sum of all the guards? Suddenly the capital of Equestria looks like a juicy target. Other Elias scoffed. Please, Besides the invasion, nothing ever happens here. It's as peaceful as it can be, and anyone foolish enough to invade will be destroyed by the princesses as soon as they hear about it. All we had to do is make one unicorn with a long-range teleportation spell stay behind. They could deliver news of invasion before any forces got near Camelot, and the princesses would abandon their little portal plan and return swinging. Keeping our friends here would be safer, and allow us to focus on our legion. Elias looked between the two and chuckled. Let me get this straight, Elias said. He jabbed a finger at other Elias. The fucker who said it was a good idea to make the friends in the first place, and has told me to risk everything in every turn, is now advising caution, while your paranoid ass, he said, pointing at Center Elias, is recommending we bring them with us. Am I going crazy here? Other Elias rolled his eyes. We're already crazy. That's besides the point. Putting Night Flash and Bookbinder anywhere near a battlefield is a mistake. If there's a limit to the exclusion, then fine, but we need to make sure those two are safe. We cannot lose another Bevan and Sarah. We just can't. And we won't, Center Elias snapped. That's why it's so important that we bring them with us. We train them to be battle-hardened warriors, then we keep them at the rear of the field. We will have thousands of other soldiers from different guard forces around us. We can literally make as big as a legion as we want. We can have a cohort around each pony, hundreds of bodyguards. What could be better? Then we get the added benefit of keeping them close and using their talents as advisors to make sure we don't fuck up. We need that voice in our life. Then we don't alienate them, and after the march, we all go home with fat retirement paychecks, and they can adopt us as planned. Son of a bitch. Other Elias muttered as he accepted the logic. Elias was of another mind, however. What do you mean, adopt us as planned? I told him that if I take this, the adoption thing is done. It was one of my conditions. Center Elias snorted and waved his hand dismissively. And then Bookbinder said she would adopt us without contest. Those were the terms we agreed to. And if you think our will can match hers, you're sorely mistaken. That mare is a force of nature when it comes to being a mom. Other Elias grunted in agreement. Elias looked between them both with a look of disbelief on his face. Seriously, you two are just okay with that? What happened to caution and keeping everyone at arm's length? Center Elias fixed him with a deadpan look. That ship sailed when those two read our journals. Not to mention the fact that you decided to share our life story with Luna. You're not the only one at fault here. If you wanted to keep them at arm's length, you should have stopped listening to this tool months ago, he said, gesturing towards other Elias. The man shrugged and nodded his agreement. Not untrue. Still, I think we can safely agree that my advice was largely sound. Elias sighed and rubbed his face with his hands. I hate both of you. Mostly because you two, much like everyone else, are right. The fact that it's taken this long to figure that out is concerning and brings me back to the question if I should do this at all. Am I going to do the job right if I keep getting hung up on the past? Am I sound enough mind to be playing with the lives of hundreds, including the ponies I love most? Other Elias grunted as he got to his feet. Our past is what gives us knowledge to do this right. Frankly, it's something that nobody in Equestria has. The only thing we need to do is to ensure success is to have absolute control. No interference from anyone. Not the other generals, not the princesses, and not our friends. We know what it will take to correct our past mistakes. I think it's safe to say that we won't be as ambitious and idiotic with our tactical decisions like last time. Agreed. Center Elias nodded, then vanished. Elias let out a long exhale, then waved the second specter away. Fine. It's decided then. Now keep quiet in there unless I need help. I need to make solid choices and I don't need the two of you getting me distracted. Elias counted to 100 before he turned around. Neither specter was there, but a sense of self-confidence swept through his mind. He could do this. He had to. He had to run through the list of things he needed to do in his mind. But first, he had dinner with two very special ponies. Elias arguing with other Elias. Or Eliases? Elisa? What's the plural for Elias? What I wouldn't pay for a picture of three Eliases arguing with each other Spider-Man style. That aside though, what don't argue with each other because I love them, and thank you guys for the support, are my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, Squall Windfeather, Juan de la Paz, Starlight Blaze, Dreamless Portal, and Rain Flicker. Chase the Master, Sword Brother and Mordred, Danish Dash, Solus, R.D. Bryant, Captain Blue Shadow, Nocturne, HKH4 aka Texture, the Animated Ghost, and Canned Panzer aka Trex, and of course the large thing that is Silent Titan. Wow, I have so many Patreons. Thank you guys so much for your support. It's absolutely insane. Honestly, I have to do a proper cry and heartfelt video for my 1000 once I get the art for that. Aside from that though, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.